Good evening, folks. Welcome to Friday. It's Friday. It's not Saturday, is it? It's Friday. Friday's March Madness. Right, can I just get, for those of you that are here, can you just give me an audio check? Can you hear me okay? And James, JD, if you want to give us a shout.
Hello. Yes, I will do the audio testing as well. Hello, everyone, and welcome to your Friday March Madness stream. For those people who maybe haven't seen me yet, I've been on a stream with Jamie a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, it's lovely to meet you all. This is my first stream on Train Sim World, and I'm delighted to be joined by Matt today.
Brilliant. Excellent. It's all good fun. Right, so tonight, why don't I bring the schedule up first, which is that button there. Right, we are starting tonight now with LGV Mediterranee for around an hour, and then we're going to have a look at München Augsburg around 9 o'clock for around an hour. After that, we have GameTech UK running on Southeastern High Speed. He's going to be comparing some of the real world with the route, which is fascinating to watch. And then Northern Alex around 10:30, possibly actually, given the GameTech UK video is only about 20 minutes long. So we'll probably start Northern Alex videos a little bit early, and then we'll all finish a bit early and go to bed early and have a nice cup of tea or something. And Northern Alex will be running on the Dresden-Riesa route on TS 2021.
And Matt, you were saying you hadn't eaten before the stream as well, so I bet by 11 o'clock you will be absolutely ravenous.
Well, I'll be turning my microphone off at 10 o'clock so that you don't hear the munching. Yes, it's my what's worse is that let me just put the camera back on. What's worse is that the food is sitting there and I can smell it, and that's just not on.
Deal with that.
That's just not on. But never mind. I will console myself with this glass of water. Yum.
For those of you who haven't had a chance, I haven't had a chance to say hello to yet. Hello. This is going to be a bit of an educational stream for me. I am the first person to admit that I've come into this a little bit of a noob. I am willing to learn, and I want to learn all about the world of locos, the world of trains, the world of train enthusiasm. That is the phrase. And part of the reason why I wanted to do this stream today with Matt is because he is the font of all knowledge on trains. And I wanted to get a little bit out. And I wanted to get a little bit more information, particularly on some of the continental routes, because I think we're getting a little bit of a continental feel for tonight. We've obviously got French route, we've got German route as well. When I've been playing Train Sim World in my free time, I've generally been playing on British routes because they're a little bit more familiar to me. So I'm looking forward to getting stuck in and finding out a little bit more about the continental routes tonight.
We are going high speed tonight with the TGV, and then I thought we might mix it up a bit and maybe do something like the BR45 on a regional express on the München line, rather than having just two lots of high speed, just to change it up a bit. Right, okay, so we're on the TGV route. I thought I pumped in a bit of cloud, I put a bit of wind. In fact, let's dial the wind all the way up so that you can see the trees moving a bit. We'll leave everything else pretty much as it is, and we'll get going. And I thought we'd do a westbound run, so we are going to be going... let's take something like it's a northbound service, not a westbound service. I don't know quite where I thought I was in the world. And we're going to be running 95. Should we stop at Avignon? Should we see if I can fail to stop at Avignon?
Oh, I have a little story about that, Matt, when we get to it, about stopping at Avignon. But we can save that for when we do or don't stop at Avignon.
It's not Avignon, is it? It's Aix-en-Provence is the place I'm thinking of, the one in the middle. Well, not really in the middle. That's... I thought it told you which one stopped at Aix-en-Provence. Excellent. Right, well, we're off to a strong start there. Okay, in which case we will just run the Paris-Gare de Lyon northbound service from Marseille, and we'll see what happens. March Madness. We forgot the video. We'll do the video after this.
To the video, the sexy video. We'll put that on afterwards.
Do the video after this. That'll keep everyone, on the edge of their seats waiting for the video. Right, drive this northbound TGV service as far as Avignon. Right, okay. Someone remind me how to drive this thing. Let's get the doors open. Apparently it turns itself on if you forget to do stuff. Excellent. I like this kind of train. I need normal pantographs on DC lines. Yeah, we're DC lines. Crikey.
I have questions already, Matt, but I will save them until you've got this all set up.
Right. That's down here. I want here, isn't it? I want TVM on normal. I want batteries okay. I want KBB on normal. VACMA on normal. Have I done them all yet? I think I've done them all. Compressor needs to be on. That's fine. Good. I think we have all of the things that need to be switched on. We will press this button to make this. Acknowledge that. Press that button to make that go away. Put some instrument lights on. Right. So, we don't need wipers or anything. We've got headlights on. Probably not if I haven't turned them on. We do. Okay. Nice. I need to close the breaker. And we need to wait till 7:02. Okay, I'm probably whizzing through this way too fast. I'm going to get everyone complaining on the forums that I'm going too quick. Part of the problem is I genuinely have forgotten how to drive the train. And I'm struggling myself. So, in case it wasn't really obvious. Right. Okay. Go for it. Questions?
Yes, questions. So, first of all, I was going to say what I found really useful, because I was doing a couple of runs of this this morning, and I found the desk light to be particularly useful. If that's something that, there we go, that made it a lot more.
There's a desk light and there is a cab light.
Okay. Well, see,
this is the cab light.
In that I didn't know that there was a cab light.
And there's a desk light. Desk light is actually a good one to have on. And we'll find out when we get into the tunnel why the desk light is a really good one to have on. Obviously, if you've got a keyboard, you can just press the L key. So it doesn't matter if you can't see it. But once it goes dark, if you're using a controller, you're in a bit of a problem, to be honest, because you can't find the light to turn the light on. So you definitely want that.
I found that to be problematic when I was in the middle of the tunnel. That's a lot of fun. And we and pantograph as well. So first thing that obviously this is electric powered train. This is a little bit of a complex. Well, for me, it feels like a complex approach to sort of the British trains, where you kind of flick a few switches and it's all good. It feels a little bit more complicated. And I wonder if you maybe could sort of run through some of the major differences straight away, even kind of in the cockpit side of things, between something like the loco that we're driving now and say a British equivalent. So we might be using in the southeastern, for instance.
Yeah, I mean, Javelin would be the closest equivalent to this. Well, what we'll do is we'll hang around here for a minute. I'll just give you a tour of the cab. So on the left-hand side here, these gauges are your brake gauges. So this is the big top one here is telling me we've got 3 bars of brake applied, so we're not going anywhere. And there's different indicators here, which I'll explain them more as we get moving and see what they are. But essentially, brakes are on. So what we'll do is we'll see this one return up to 5, which means the brakes are released. Not 0. 0 means they're applied. Brakes tend to work the other way round, so that the idea is they fail safe. So if all the air suddenly ran away because there was a hole in the pipe, then all the brakes would come on. Yeah, so you have to put air in the system to hold the brakes off, which is why 5 means they're off. We've got the big emergency brake handle here. You've got the train brake here, which is how we will slow the train down, how we'll speed it up. This works like a PBL, what they call a PBL brake. And what that means is that you have a state where you move it to make it more brakes and a state where you make it less brakes, essentially. Rather than like being 0 to 100%, set it to 20% for some brakes, 40% for more brakes, which you would do in like the Javelin, for example. It's just more you move the lever, the more you slow down. In this lever has 2 states, essentially. I can put it in release, I can put it in apply. And again, you can see if I move the lever, that moves it up to 4. And as soon as I release it, it stops. The brake is not released until it goes up to 5. It's just less brake. So I can just move the brake on and off with what's going on there. This thing is the local cylinder on this unit. So 0 in this case does mean the brakes are released on this gauge. So that was the brakes. You look like you have a question.
No, I was going to say, just Jason in the chat says a pen and paper would be very handy, and believe it or not, I do have a pen and I do have paper.
Look at those.
So I am ready to go.
The white TGV at the back is probably from where I've been playing around and testing reskins and things, and I've created a reskin and not actually done anything with it. Obviously, it should be pink, but You know, I'm just going to call that one a fail on my part. Right, up here we have the KVB gauges. Honestly, KVB doesn't do an awful lot in this area. The key things really on this route, because we come off KVB quite quickly, are the V indicator and the brake indicator. These two little lights here, they're both off at the moment. When you're driving, until you do the power changeover and it switches TVM on, which is when all the numbers appear on the big bit here, until that point you're being controlled by this. All it's doing is watching the speed limit. It knows what the speed limit is. If you get by more than 5 kilometers an hour over the speed limit, the V light comes on. If you get more than 10 kilometers an hour over the speed limit, the emergency the stop light comes on, and the train comes to a stop. There's not a lot to the needed bits of KVB for this train. In the middle, we have the big speedometer here, and as you'll see, there's two arrows here, one for up, one for down. So if it's up, then you're speeding up. If it's down, you're slowing down. It's just a really simple accelerometer, and it's really good, particularly coming down up and down some of the hills. You can adjust your power just to keep your speed level if you're trying to maintain speed, or you know if you're accelerating or slowing down. Because obviously in the cab, you could feel it. Although I'm not sure whether you would actually. If you're doing 300 kilometers an hour and the train slows down to 250 very gently, I'm not sure how much you do feel that in the cab. So the accelerometer is there to help visualize that, make that easier for you. This is your target speed. So this train has a cruise control. So we'll be setting cruise control on once we get into the high speed section. And this is just, it tells me what the target speed of the train is set to. This tells me that I've got power coming in at the moment, which is always a good thing. This is the tractive, the effectively, if it's above the top half, then it's positive power. If it's the bottom half, we're slowing down. We're trying to put brakes on. So that's this bit. This over here, you've got a bunch of fault indicators or status indicator lights. So if I reset the traction, the circuit braking, you can see the circuit breaker's open. If I close the circuit breaker, it tells me, this indicator here tells me I am allowed to close the circuit breaker. The system is happy that I can close it. And then if I flick the rearm button, then everything will clear. And actually, the general way that most train lights work is very similar to aircraft. If there is a light on, something needs to be dealt with. If there's no lights on, nothing needs to be worried about. Or the train is switched off, one of the two. You can probably tell if it's because the train is switched off, though. So, as a general, if you see a light on, there's one here. It's because the doors are open. Yeah, so if you see a light on, something needs to be looked at. Same one here. The circuit breaker buttons. This is the master switch for the cab. The tutorial walks through the exact processes for some of these. You've got tail lights down here. What have we got here? This is the horn.
I did enjoy the horn. I have to admit, on this train, I was making some fine music with the horn as I was speeding past Avignon.
Nice. Avignon's a troublesome one to speed past, it has to be said.
Yeah, particularly when the scenario suggested that I was meant to stop at Avignon as well.
Yeah, so. It's the end of the route, so yeah. Right, these two controls control the pantographs and the power system. So this train supports 3 different types of power. It supports the DC, direct current. This is as in the power that we're aware of, like X volts DC or X volts AC. So this is the C mode. We're in DC, which is the kind of power we get in Marseille. So looking at the map, so from Marseille up to here, I think, or thereabouts, you have DC power, and then in the tunnel it talks you through changing over to LGV, which is a different voltage of AC power, so that we can go faster. So there, we'll switch that. This also supports M, which is a different form of AC that's not used on this route. It's used in other less, not LGV routes, but also not. DC is like the old school way of doing things, and AC is the normal AC is for the normal high speed lines. LGV is for the actual LGV, the Ligne Grande Vitesse. So we will be using these to change the power mode over. Down here you've got your desk light and you've got your headlight brightness. We've got them, so you can use them to turn the headlights up and down. Normally you'd leave them on bright, and then when a train's coming by, turn it down, just to be nice to the other driver. What are these controls? Reverser, forwards or backwards. Just simple. This is the power handle, which is currently in off, but then over on the right hand side you've got this driving mode selector. So this is where we tell it whether we're on selected speed, which means we'll follow the speed selector. So the cruise control effectively is turned on. If you're in manual control, then it's just a throttle and brake controller. This is the brake over here. More power, more brakes, works like you'd expect it to. Couple and uncouple, it limits the speed the train can go, so you can't go very quickly, so that it's more easier and more controllable at like 0 to 2 kilometers an hour while you're trying to couple up to another train. Because you really don't want to couple up to another train faster than about 2 kilometers an hour. It doesn't end well. So I'm going to put it in manual control because we're not on the LGV. This speed selector over here, if you look, the indicator moves as I move it. So this is going to be our speed section. I'm going to go ahead and set that to 200 for the time being, so that we're in a place where we can activate it easily and we can adjust it later.
Is that your cruise control essentially?
That is exactly cruise control, yeah. So we set the cruise control, but until I put it in selected speed, you'll notice I put it in selected speed, it's appeared on the HUD now, so that I can see what's going on there. And as I move it around, you can see the blue bar moves around as well. But I'm going to put it in manual control for now, which means that speed cruise control is not on. We've got some other ancillary buttons and controls down here, and somewhere there's wipers, but I can't remember where.
I think they're on the left-hand side.
Cancel. Climate control. Sanding.
I think.
Panel
I seem
light.
to remember.
Ooh,
I seem to
Very nice.
because I was doing the rainy scenario, and I went through the entire thing without turning the wipers on.
Oh, sorry, they're here. They're here.
And then I finally found them, and I felt very, very happy with myself. Only to then, at that point, shoot miles past Avignon. So,
You know, all of this time we've been sat here, I still haven't got a green light to go because I've been waiting for this train. So this was all completely planned in advance that this would be exactly how it works. Yes, totally.
absolutely. Some people have suggested in the chat that we could just clip this up and put this as the tutorial, which I actually am not averse to. I think actually we could. That was a very, very thorough, in-depth tutorial. Thank you very much, Matt.
That's all right. Right, okay. Just as that train comes in, there's a few things on the back wall here that I switched on. So if you want the safety systems, you have to turn them on. So you've got TVM, KVB, and VACMA from Brightly are the three that you need to turn on. If you want them, you don't have to have them on. Right, so we are ready to go. I need to close the doors.
Always handy. And always something, again, that I forget to do.
Yeah. Sitting here wondering why nothing's happening. Probably get my green light now. Boom! There we go.
Yeah.
Right, so again, we use this, and if we look at what's happening with the brakes, as I release them, you see the brake cylinder's gone to 0 and the bar has now read up to 5. So we now know that we've got the brakes fully released. And now I can apply some power and away we go. Speed limit in this area is looks like 15, but it'll be rapidly speeding up.
A couple of questions in the chat, Matt, around the safety systems. Obtain6 asks, what does VACMA mean, or what is VACMA?
VACMA is a vigilance device. Don't ask me what it means exactly. That's if I knew, that would be bad. It would be bad to try and pronounce it. It's a bit like saying what does PZB stand for. But it is basically, if you know American trains, it's the alerter. If you know British trains, it's the driver vigilance device. It's the thing that every now and again goes beep 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 beep. You press a button and it goes away. It's just there to say, are you still awake, driver? It's literally all it's there for.
And Mr. Quicko Streams asks, what do the different safety systems do, like TVM and KVB? So it's kind of an extension, I suppose, of that question.
Yeah, so the VACMA is about making sure the driver is alert, vigilance. The KVB is used on the traditional lines. This is like the classic lines here, for speed limit adherence. And it also, there are other states it can get to using these readouts here, which really don't do as much as you'd expect them to do, actually. They don't tell you what speed to go at. KVB is a kind of system that basically it knows how fast you should be going, and it will just tell you if you're wrong. It will not tell you how fast you should be going. There are no clues. You should just know. And essentially KVB is just there to put the brakes on. Now you do get a warning. So if I speed up now and go above the speed limit, as I go up to 5, see the alarms come on? So the alarm's now beeping and the white light is on because I was exceeding the speed limit. So you do get some notice. So that would have. There's no limit to how long I can have that alarm going, aside from my sanity. It will let you sit that speed. If you go another 5 kilometres over, that's when it has enough and it puts the brakes on, and you've got to let the train stop, reset it and go again. So that's what KVB does. That's basically speed limit adherence in the classic line sections. There's a bit more it can do in real time, but that's just in essence it. TVM 430 is solving the problem of all of these signals. They really aren't effective once you go above 160 kilometres an hour, because by the time you can see it, it's too late to do anything about it. So what they had to do is put the signals in the cab, essentially what they call cab signalling. And TVM, like LZB, the German one, is a cab signalling system. Let me speed up. And the goal of TVM literally just tells you in a readout. You'll see it when we get into the TVM. It tells you how fast to drive, and you just follow it. And it will track. It knows what's going on in front of you and will slow you down based on what trains there are in front of you and try and speed you up if it can. So it's a really good system for keeping trains moving at high speed, but also making sure they stay properly spaced apart from each other. We use it in the UK on High Speed 1 with the Javelins. This is again another implementation of it. This is the full 320 kilometers an hour TVM system, whereas obviously the one that we use on the Javelins will only let the trains go up to 140 miles an hour, 200 and something kilometers an hour.
Thank you very much for going through that for us, Matt. There's a lot of happy people in the chat. MATY, I don't know if that's Matty or Matty. What is the high speed of this train? I think you can probably see it on the speedometer, but how fast would you be able to go in this?
I don't know what the theoretical top speed of the train is, but the operating top speed is 320 kilometers an hour. And we were doing that actually on this journey briefly. This journey you will generally peak out at 320, and then it's the rest of the time it's at 300. But I don't know whether it's a 350 speed limit unit. TVM 430 means that the signalling system is capable of 430 kilometers an hour, but I don't think anywhere uses that yet. So I think the fastest system's at the moment running at about 350.
Awesome. 3J Palmer asks, can you add the safety system training in all routes for beginning training and introductions? Well, I mean, it's a good suggestion. We'll see if I know you are recording some at the moment, Matt, aren't you? You're doing the VO for some of them, so maybe we can see if we can get some safety system stuff in there as well.
Yeah, we did the one for PZB. They did a stream doing that one, but we want to try and find a more condensed way of doing it in the same format as some of these guides videos that are going up recently. They've been getting a really good reaction. People seem to enjoy those, so we want to do more of those and cover off not just driving trains but also the other stuff like the safety systems. Getting them in the game is a lot harder. That was VACMA. That alarm that just went off was because I hadn't touched the controls in a while. It was just, you get this really, the sounds on this train for what looks like a super modern train are really old school. Sometimes it feels like you're in a tram.
You know what? I thought that, and I was going to mention it, but then I thought I'd sound stupid. So
no, you're right.
No, yeah, I thought it sounded very retro. The noises in it, which is very interesting. I don't know if it's just because don't change what doesn't need fixing, or if it's
standard sounds that people are used to. Yeah. Right, so we're going to do the power changeover now. I've cut the power, and the first thing you do is flip the breaker twice to get the power system powered down. We then want to raise the pantograph. Lower the pantograph, sorry, so that we're down now. This is the alarm that's told us we need to switch over. I switch the power selector over to LGV, put the big light on, put the pantograph back over to normal, and what I'm waiting for is that indicator just appeared. So the pantograph has gone up, connected to the wires, and has measured the voltage and said, you've got it all set correctly. If you get the voltage selector wrong, it reads the volts and it won't blow up. It'll just say, I'm not letting you switch this on. It's wrong. So if that comes on, you're authorized to turn the system back on, which is just click that. And now we're all good to go.
Awesome. We should start accelerating again then.
We are indeed. And you can see from the accelerometer that we're back up. TVM is now back on. KVB has been switched off. TVM is on. We have a 300 kilometer limit at the moment. However, it's blinking, which means it's going down.
In an episode of JD's Noob Journeys, I managed to get stuck in this tunnel and ended up going backwards because I couldn't work out how to reconnect to the power system. So that's all good.
And you were in the dark probably at the time as well.
And I was in the dark as well. So yeah, it was not a pleasant experience for me, I have to say. But we live and learn. And I did actually at that point reach out to Matt and say, please help me. And he said the tutorials were a good place to start. So I read through all of those and made sure that I got it right the next time round. So
Excellent.
yeah, that is a bit of advice if you don't necessarily, if you are new to a service or new to coming into the game for the first time, or a new loco for the first time, generally there will be some pretty good guides out there or tutorials out there for you to take a look at and go through the tutorials in game as well, because they're very useful.
Yeah, the tutorial on the TGV actually went into a lot of detail and some things that I haven't covered because they're not necessary, but the tutorial covers them through because people want to try these extra realism bits out. And one of them is how to do a brake self test. What the procedure is for actually doing that brake self-test. So the tutorial walks you through, how you apply the emergency brake, how you cut the brakes out. So there's you use all of these brake over there, the brake hold button, the brake neutral button. You use those then to actually test the brakes and confirm that all the brakes are working before you set off. So the tutorial walks you through that, and it also walks you through a bunch of other stuff, so it's really good. Plus the tutorial then drives you this way into the tunnel and shows you how to do the power changeover as well. Right, so the TVM is currently dropping my speed down to 200. Again, it's flashing. Now my speed limit at any given moment is whatever it was previously, essentially, but decelerate to this speed by the next marker. So the next marker's coming up in 250 meters. I need to be below 200 kilometers an hour. That's fine because I didn't really ever get above this speed. It's now saying 170. That's fine. We're not above 170, so all is good. And I've got 3.4 kilometers to Aix-en-Provence. The number of times I have flown through Aix-en-Provence with all my brakes on, going whoops. Because I get so excited about, you've done the power changeover, ram it into full throttle, come blasting out of this tunnel at 300 kilometers an hour. And at 300 kilometers an hour, 3 kilometers is nothing.
Flies by. Again, refer back to Avignon.
Yeah, exactly. It's really amazing. This was before we had TVM installed in the TGV, so we were flying blind. Yeah, it was comical, except for the fact that I was trying to test something, so I had to keep doing it over and over again. But yes, it was good, and it when reinforced once TVM sort of arrived, just how much easier it makes things. Just follow what TVM says, and you can't really go wrong.
British Train Spotter asks in the chat, "Hello, how are you two tonight?" Well, that's a very nice question. Thank you very much for posting that in the chat. I'm very well, thank you. Very excited to be on what I call a premiere stream for one of the first times, which is great. How about you, Matt?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I'm doing good. Having a good day, and you know what? I'm playing Train Sim World, so happy days. I'm in my happy space.
So, is there anything of note at all about Aix-en-Provence that is worth talking about?
Oh yeah, let me get the train stopped, and we'll fly the camera around, and we'll have a look. It's a really interesting station. It's really quite modern. We've got the new PIS system on the left-hand side there. We'll go and have a look at that in a minute. As you can see, I panic braked because I panic braked basically. But yes, we'll have a wander around once I get stopped. One thing you need to bear in mind with the TGV is when you use the because it's what they call a combined handle throttle. So if the throttle is above 0, it's power. If it's below 0, it's brakes, and it will bring in blended brakes and air brakes and so on and so forth. It's really lovely until you stop, and then it releases the air brakes, and your train starts rolling away if you're not careful. So always bring yourself to a stop by manually applying air brakes. The number of times I've got to the station, opened the doors and thought, you know what, let's have a stroll. And we have a stroll, and then you look at, and by the time you come back, the train is just gently rolling down the platform. You're like, oh, that's probably not good. So yeah, always apply your air brake to hold the train into position. Let's have a wander into the coach as well.
Oh yeah, let's have a wander around. David Y asked in the chat, would it be possible to move our faces so people can see the HUD?
What I will do is I'll just I'll get the cameras off, that way people can see what's going on. And we'll put the cameras on again later.
Just hear our disembodied voices, that's not creepy.
Disembodied voices, it's fine.
Cool. And just while we're exploring the train itself, here's the little sales bit for us, because we are streaming tonight because it's March Madness, and that means that on Steam we've got a hell of a lot of stuff on sale at the moment, and this route is 25% off, which is great if you've not got it already. We're also going to go through Munition Augsburg as well, which is 30% off. Isle of Wight is also 30% off, and there's loads of Preserve Collection add-ons at 40% off. So if you've been looking for something for a while, take a look in Steam, and you might find something in there that you like. And also, obviously, Diesel Legends was launched yesterday, and there is a 10% launch discount on Steam as well. For those people who are inevitably going to come at us and ask about consoles, this is something that we can set up ourselves within Steam. Consoles, we have to wait for consoles to do sales themselves, and then we join those sales. So we will. There will be stuff coming, but just there is a sale that is on the PlayStation Store at the moment. On Train Sim World 2 and DLC, and there is an Xbox sale running right now, which ends on the 16th of March, but they're not the same as the March Madness sale. But there will be more stuff coming in the near future, so look out for that.
Awesome. Yeah, there's tons of good stuff actually. No, I don't want to give up the service. I'm just enjoying it, okay? I'm a train fan. Look at that, isn't that gorgeous?
It's a little bit serpentine, isn't it? You can just almost see like having a little tongue stuck out the front of it, like a forked tongue stuck out the front of it.
Yeah. Yes, you're right. Right, let's come inside here, sit down again. Right, get the doors locked, which is the middle button. And we will now set our target speed to 300, which I believe is the limit. No, it isn't. We'll go speed select mode. That bell cracks me up every time.
Again, just those retro noises.
Yeah. Right, release the brakes. We've got speed select mode now enabled, which is cruise control. Brakes are released, power is applied, and we just basically let it get on with it. And all I need to do now is watch TVM, watch the speeds, and look after it. We've got 67 kilometres of journey now to get to Avignon.
What's the I mean, I suppose we'll find this out, but what's the kind of the scenery vibe for this? And I know we had a little chat, didn't we, yesterday, Matt, about kind of the approach that we're taking to things like scenery, but how do we go about kind of putting together everything that would be within sort of a route like this, where it is so long, and being able to then kind of make it feel like it is as we would like to make it feel very real, very authentic. How do we go about doing that kind of thing? Because obviously with a route like this, it's probably more important than most, because most of it is scenery, isn't it?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of scenery in all the routes, and it's the technique is essentially the same. Combinations of cab ride videos. Right, the top speed's just gone up.
Sorry, yeah, I'll let you actually do your thing, and then
that's fine. Right, so that's good. So the train will now babysit itself up to 300 kilometres an hour. So yeah, there's lots of things. We use cab ride DVDs. We use the imagery you can see from Google Earth and what's where. We can look at the data that's on sites like OpenStreetMap for the land class information and things like that they see that are around there. And photographs. You're not going to get too many photographs from places like this, but certainly like in stations and so forth, we can look at what's going on there, and on routes that aren't quite as remote as this one is. Because when they cut a high-speed route like this, they purposefully cut it through the landscape, because it doesn't matter if it's a bit longer because you're going really, really fast, and you purposefully want it away from the built-up areas because they're a lot more difficult to manage. So we've combined all that information together, and then we've started developing tools to help us build out the background scenery. So really anything beyond about half a kilometre away from the track at the moment has probably been generated automatically by downloading metadata and then pre-populating the scenes. Now even that data is then tweaked and so forth by the artists, but it means that they're not spending as much time worrying about that distant information, and they can focus on the stuff that's right next to the track. Ideally, we know those tools get better and better, but at the moment, I think it'll be a long time before you get away from the artist doing the lion's share of the work, because you kind of want the artist's impression of what this should look like, and I think a fully automated impression would look too sterile.
Yeah, it feels like it'd be a bit lifeless, doesn't it? Like, you want the kind of the soul of the developer to be in, or the soul of the artist to be in it, don't you, really? To have that kind of personal touch to a certain extent.
Exactly, yeah, and it's there's they can add little nice touches to various things as they go along. They've got different techniques. The teams generally agree on various techniques for how they're going to approach various things, and they meet regularly. This route is just such a roller coaster. The terrain on this route is just phenomenal. You can see we just went from a steep up gradient to a steep down gradient, swinging round a corner. We're going to be going back up gradient again in a minute. So we're back up. We've just gone from a steep down, we're back to a steep up again. So you can hear the motors being applied in and out all the time as the train fights to try and maintain the speed I've told it to. So if we just take a look outside, you can see that there's scenery populated further back than we normally would, to be honest, because the further you get back, the harder it gets, the more time consuming it gets, but also the reward for it, how much you actually see it. Like at the moment you can't see any of it, but how its importance drops off as it goes further and further away as well, unless you're over a viaduct and you can therefore see a lot further either side of you. So it's really trying to strike that balance and fill out the scenery.
That's amazing. Yeah, I saw somebody there was a swimming pool in somebody's back garden in one of the background shots. So it's accurate down even to those fine details. Brian touched on what specs you're running this on today.
This is an RTX 2080 Super graphics card. It's an i7 6790 or something like 6700K processor on an SSD with 16 gigs of RAM. It's not a particularly new machine. I've just upgraded the graphics card on it. It used to have a 980, but it runs the game beautifully.
Awesome. I'm just seeing if there's any other questions in the chat that we can ask at this point. A lot of people saying it's Roger's saying it's pretty amazing generated data. See you later. Says see I get it. See you later. Nice. The trees on the route are lovely. Sean Chambers says they love the scenery. The scenery on this route as well. I'm inclined to agree. I think with a route like this, because it is so, you can get to a point where you are kind of cruise controlling. You do notice the scenery a lot more, and it does feel very much like that is the kind of je ne sais quoi, to use the French phrase, of this particular route.
French in a French bit.
I know, who'd have thought it? I can't even pronounce Mediterranean properly, but why not?
Neither could I. I had to get one of our French localization team to give me pronunciation lessons for it, so that when I did the voiceover for the tutorial, I didn't sound like a complete fool. Just a bit of a fool, yeah.
I mean, you wait till we get to Germany.
Yeah. My brilliant pronunciation of German is epically well known amongst everybody. My goal in life is to try and insult as few people as possible when I speak German. I figure if I can, minimise the damage to international relations, then at least that's not too bad. Yeah,
it's one of those things, isn't it, where it is the typical Brit abroad, isn't it, where everything is kind of franglais rather than actual French.
Look at that gradient change coming up.
That's awesome.
Absolutely phenomenal. The fact that because we're going so fast, the view is naturally more compressed, combined with the fact that the gradient changes are just that much more fierce, means that you see all these gradient changes. You feel yourself in the cab riding these gradients.
Well, I was going to ask actually, in terms of the you said the kind of the gradients. You described it as a bit of a roller coaster earlier. If you're in the cabin, do you feel those kinds of undulations? I suppose there's probably a little bit more severe than undulations? Would you feel like you're in a roller coaster to a certain extent, with the kind of you lose your feeling your stomach, that kind of thing, or is it very much more of an enjoyable experience when you're actually in there?
Oh, I think I mean, I've not been in a train doing these kinds of speeds. I know that when I've been in the javelins, it's fine. It's certainly not roller coastery type feelings, because I would never get in a cab if that was the case. But me and roller coasters don't get on. I'm sure a route like this does feel a little more bouncy, shall we say, compared to the normal, but this is somewhat extreme. 42 kilometres. Now the speed is going up and down, and it's because we're following another train, almost certainly. There's a train in front of us, and TVM is spotting the blocks between how far the distance is between us, and occasionally bumping the speed limit to 320 and then dropping it back to 300 again. So just keep an eye on that, and then if that ever goes below 300, then I'll need to start dropping that limit down again. I mean, I've only set my cruise control to 300 anyway. It can't quite manage to keep control of the train down some of these steep gradients. You have to support it with air brakes, but it's because of the these are quite steep gradients. The amount of force required to slow the train down is quite considerable.
Again, at Exhibit A, Avignon stop. So
yeah, I mean, it's like one of the things that I think that a lot of people who don't know trains, especially if you come from, or driving a car or something like that, don't appreciate the stopping distance of a train.
No, it's about I started about 5k away, and I was blitzing past it at about 120 kilometers an hour after sticking on the emergency brake for the last 2 kilometers. So there is a bit of a downhill gradient, but
yeah, that doesn't help.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I imagine you probably need to double that pretty much.
Yeah, this thing starts slowing you down around 9 kilometers out, and that gives you a nice gentle then run in. Yeah, so it's even on an emergency speed. So the HST in the UK, the high speed train, I think on emergency brakes takes over a mile to stop. Which is, again, you can imagine, and they don't run the speeds this thing runs at. That's 106. That's a 160 km/h train. This thing's doing double that, 320. And so, this is why it's important to have this cab signalling, because by the time you could see a signal telling you that there was a stop coming up or even a slow down coming up, it's way too late to do anything about it.
Yes, it's amazingly clever. I'm constantly in awe of people that can work out and sort of foresee these kinds of things. Have there been any kind of incidents that would mean that this would be necessary, like previous to having this system in place?
Well, so they've always spaced it based on sight. So it's always been built around 100, around how long it takes to slow a train down is fundamentally the unit that determines how far away signals are away from each other, and one of the interesting stories that I go on about every now and again, because so few people know what really happened, is with the Mallard, the A4, the famous train that broke the world speed record when it ran 126 miles per hour. It broke 2 world records on that day, and the second world record it broke was how fast it slowed down. And that was the whole purpose of that test, was not to see, let's see how fast we can make an A4 run and see if we can break some world records. Actually, it was to do a test to find out, if we want to run our current 100 miles an hour trains at 125 miles an hour, can the drivers stop? Can they still stop and drive to the signals? Or do we need to re-signal the entire East Coast main line with the signals further apart to give them more time? Or employ any manner of other mechanisms to give the drivers advice about what's going on? So basically the purpose of the A4 test run was go as fast as you possibly can, going down a hill so that you can go as even faster, which is what they did. And then they broke the world speed record, and the Mallard, sadly. And then essentially at a certain point, jam on the brakes. Simulating a stop and simulate the stopping distance. So they had the dynamometer car, which is an old school thing, with measurement attached to wheels and so forth, and all the the bar graphs and so forth that it's generating, like like a seismograph, and it's recording the speeds. And I'm just going to pop the speed down. Actually, now it's just 300. No, okay. And it's recording the speeds, and you can see that they decelerated ridiculously quickly. And because of that test, they didn't have to re-signal the entire East Coast main line. So you can imagine how much money that saved. And the results from that test, which I think Westinghouse were involved in that test, because one of the other things they did was test a brand new braking system. It's like, well, if we put this new braking system on, can we get you slowed down fast enough? And they proved without a shadow of a doubt they could. And then the data from that test actually helped railways all over the world. It was just an example of just how the spacing of the signals is tested to see what they can do with it.
Wow. Okay. That is great. I mean, we said about being font of all knowledge, Matt, but I didn't realise we'd be getting history lessons as well, which is great. And
it's all about history.
Actually, I mean, one of my questions is actually going to be the history of this route, and kind of how it came into being, what its kind of, I suppose, what its purpose is as a route. Obviously, it's a quick route, so I assume it's to try and get people out of Marseille or out of Paris as quick. Or between the two.
It's a Marseille to Paris interlink. So it's an artery to get you from Marseille to Paris. There's 2 or 3 stops on the way. The one at Avignon, the one at Lyon, and then I think Paris might be the next one. So it just provides a really fast. It's alternative to jet travel. And means that they can do that. So there's actually, when you get to Avignon, there's 2 stations at Avignon. There's because they don't want to run the high-speed trains, they can't run them through the built-up areas. 14 kilometres, we'll start getting slowed down in a minute. I'm going to cut the power. Actually, I need to leave the power on. Interesting thing with this, it will only slow you down on cruise control based on how much power you're applying. So if you have cruise control on and you put the power off, it will not slow you down. Whereas if you put the power on maximum throttle, it will slow you down. This is how these things work. But I'm just going to actually start applying the brakes because I'm panicking at the moment. There we go, 270. Right, I need to get to 270 by the next. So it's braking time. We're good. We're good. I'm going to down 270 by the next marker, which is we'll be well down by 270. Ease the brakes off a little bit. So we're slowing down, but that's at the 10 kilometre mark, so that's how far out to get stopped at Avignon. Actually, we're being slowed down like this because the train in front is stopped at Avignon. So I'm actually going to I'm going to slow down a bit more just to give us a bit of a headroom on that one.
Yeah, British Transport asked in the chat around the TVM and KVB. If you missed the start of the stream, Matt went through all of the safety systems and a little bit about each of them. So we won't go into that again now. But if you want to go back and watch sort of maybe the first 15 minutes, we give a little bit of an introduction to that kind of those safety systems and all of the acronyms that are associated with them.
Right, we're coming up. Yeah, so Avignon, there's 2 stations. There's the regional station, and then a stone's throw away from it, you've got the one that we're going to be going to, which is the LGV station. So why this station is named Avignon LGV, because there is an Avignon station, or Gare de l'Avignon, I think is the full one.
So is it kind of the similar equivalent to King's Cross and St Pancras?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're right next to each other essentially. Yeah. Yeah, if you look at it, it's not modelled in the game because it's far enough away that it wouldn't be modelled in the game. But if you look on the map, you can see it not far away. But you can also see it in the middle of the town, essentially, the city. Just keeping an eye on the speed now. That's it. We've had the drop to 200. So I'm just trying. I am driving a little on the slow side, but that's because I know we're being slowed down a bit more, and I'm trying to leave it a bit more time to go, so we don't end up just sat outside the station. Passengers hate being stood outside stations. They tend to smash windows. There's another one coming the other way. Hey, pink TGV. Oh dear. Right. Just keep slowing down.
There's the highlight of the stream for everybody there.
Yeah, pink TGV, job done. Is it Avignonville, Speedbird? Okay, I thought it was Gare de l'Avignon, but I might be wrong.
Lord Marmaduke of the Lakes, and I have to admit I did not like TSW at first. This week I purchased TSW2 and I've purchased all the British add-ons. I really enjoyed the sim. It has improved a great deal. Thank you. That's great to hear.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Marmaduke, if you let us know which routes you've given a go, we might see if we can build them into one of the streaming sections in the future, and we perhaps might do another 101 with me so that you can learn it with me.
Right, just cruise now. 1.4 kilometres away. We're not far now, so I've brought it down under 100 kilometres an hour because it's really easy to stop from here. The 3 zeros are saying that basically Avignon station, the starter at the signal at the other end of it is I'm not permitted to proceed through. Actually, I'm not permitted to proceed into the station. There is a train in front of us, look. And we nearly spadded.
But we did not.
But we didn't.
We didn't. All of those people in the chat that doubted you.
As in all of them. I know you. I've seen you here before.
Someone says Enter the Dragon 542 says part of the film Mr. Bean's holiday was shot at Gare d'Avignon. I mean, I love Mr. Bean. Terrible film though, I have to admit. Sorry, Enter the Dragon, if you enjoyed it, but I did not. In fact, though, I do remember those scenes though, even if it was a terrible film.
It's one of the things, you know, I always I enjoy looking at finding, you know, when you spot train stations. It's even funnier when you find train things being used inappropriately or incorrectly even. You know, it's you know full well as a train enthusiast what you're seeing is someone on a British Mark II coach, probably on a preserved railway, and they're making out like you're somewhere in America. It's just like, no.
It must be so gratifying when you're watching something like that and you just know, yeah, you got that wrong.
It possibly drives my wife up the wall. It's like, but that's a blah 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 blah, and she said, numbers. Stop with the numbers.
Yoshi Sonic Sauce in the chat, who's got the 10,000 mile achievement I did a while ago. That feels like some dedication. That's pretty much from here, I think, to the far side of China, possibly. So that is good going. Might be further than that, actually, to be honest with you. I think that's about 8,000 miles.
Did this happen because you're 15 minutes late? It could be, actually, because I was faffing around at the beginning, and I've possibly confused it or something. That's never happened before. Yeah. Okay.
Blame me, everyone. Don't. We would have got out in time if it weren't for me.
Yeah. Blame JD. Yes.
Yeah,
I have someone else to blame.
Just hashtag blame JD. It's fine.
We'll give it a minute, and then we'll just get out and leave this train here, and it'll be fine.
Yeah, because we are moving on to Munich Augsburg. München Augsburg in about 9-10 minutes or so, something like that. So yeah. We'll go on to some German trains in a second.
Air brakes are on. Let's go and have a wander and look around the station. Dum dum dum.
Oh, Gilly Badmother says Kingsman has that tunnel scene with an American horn. I love Kingsman. Did not notice the horn. I will never not notice the horn now, though.
Tell you one of the things that was really amusing is so I used to work in Vauxhall in London many moons ago, and I used to get the train into Waterloo every day pretty much on the Jubilee line, and when I watched one of the Bourne films, it was there's a scene there where he's running all through Waterloo Station, and it was really amusing. Seeing the place that and recognising all of these things, but also all the things that they'd changed. The American style phone kiosk selling lots of burner phones, which of course is the common thing you find in the UK. It was just really amusing with the things that you recognise and the things that you don't quite recognise.
which is it Skyfall, which has the Bond film, which has the underground scene in it. I think
There's
I
been
can't
2 or
remember.
3 actually, because I think they reused that from an earlier film where he first gets the Vanquish,
Oh,
the
Die Another
invisible car.
Day.
That
Die
was
Another
on
Day.
an underground station as well, and it's
Yes,
an
'cause
old
it was,
disused
yes.
underground station.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I love that car. The film was a little bit left to be desired, but the
Car
car
was nice.
so
I'd love to get one, but it would need to have the invisibility mode. You know,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course. You need the
if
invisibility.
it can't have the
mode.
invisibility mode, then I'm not interested. I'll
And the little
stick with my Astra.
And the little spikes on the wheels that allowed it to drive up the side of a building made of ice.
Yeah, they'll do. If I can't have that, I'll stick with my Astra. Sorry.
Crodgers puts in the chat Aldwych. Yes, that was the disused line.
Aldwych, that's it. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, disused station.
Of course, there's another. Hello, another found placed another sign. There was another really cool film, and we're still on Bond actually, where there was a train. And I'm going to throw this one out because you'll all know the answer to this one, but I'm going to quiz you anyway. It was a Russian train, and it looked like it was basically a big block of steel. And all I want to know is, what class of train is it actually under all that block of steel, and what preserved railway in the UK was it actually filmed on? Mod Moggy's got the class correct.
Oh, what film are we talking?
Was
was
it Russia with Love?
I imagine. I mean,
Or was it
if it's a
was it
Russian-
GoldenEye? Might have been.
Oh yes, no, Goldeneye. It would be Goldeneye.
Yeah, it was a Class 20, but it didn't look anything like a Class 20 by the time the props department had finished with it, and it was at the Nene Valley Railway, yeah, near Peterborough.
Ah, really? Oh, that's great. The Goldeneye's I think Goldeneye is my favourite Bond film.
Yeah, I like
Maybe,
GoldenEye.
apart from maybe Casino Royale, that's also my other favourite. We're on my home territory here, talking about Bond. To be honest with you,
When you say Casino Royale, though, you've got to make sure you remember which Casino Royale is your favourite, because there's a terrible one and there's a good one.
the David Niven one versus the Daniel Craig one.
Cool. Okay. Well, this train isn't going away, so we're just going to carry on walking around, getting our exercise. Right. Okay. Let's finish up with LGV and.
He's moving.
He's moving. Quick!
Hey!
Run!
What do you say? Imagine if you were actually a passenger on the train, you just saw the driver just running back to the train.
I was fortunate enough many years ago, but before HS1 was actually commissioned for public use, one of the people I worked with, coincidentally, his mum was one of the main people in charge with safety for the railway line that was being for High Speed 1. And one of the things they did there is they wanted to test what the evacuation processes were like. So if a train failed in one of the tunnels in London, you can see TVM just woke up. If one of the trains failed in the tunnels in London, how smoothly could they evacuate a train and get it and get the passengers? Bear in mind, at a Eurostar, you're looking at what, 700 plus passengers. How do you evacuate that train into another train, and how quickly can they do it? And so I got to take part in that trial, and after doing all the tunnel changeovers and all that good fun stuff, we went out to Western Hangar, I think it was, and just stopped in the middle of nowhere because the train wasn't authorised to go onto Network Rail. And then literally the driver did just get out, walk down the tracks beside the train, and then get in the other end, and we drove all the way back to London again.
Amazing.
It was just waiting for me to say, right, let's stop, and then
Yeah.
the train left. The driver was
almost like
sitting there on the throttle going, come on, say it.
It's almost like it's become self-aware.
Oh, I'm convinced this game is self-aware and it dislikes me profusely.
I say Avignon looks like quite a futuristic.
There's a big shopping centre in that thing on the left-hand side.
Is it? I mean, obviously it has to be, but yeah, it feels like Again, I suppose you look at something like St Pancras and you see the international or the fast trains. They tend to have the flashy stations, don't they?
Yeah, you got the high-value travellers
Yeah.
that they want to relieve of their weighty pockets.
Yes.
Right, let's get the doors open, and so you can actually go in the under area on the. There's like an underpass between the two platforms. Somewhere down here, this is the problem. You got these platforms. These trains are enormous because they're twin sets. So consequently, you need these massive platforms. There we go. You can go down here. And there's this whole concourse down here. In reality, there's loads of shops and all sorts of things down here.
Rather than just some sad-looking vending machines.
Yeah.
A couple of questions about abandoned railways. I'll ask them to you, Matt, if you don't know.
Between the station and the level crossing. That goes over the main road it's all overgrown now, and then disappears because it's been that whole area has been redeveloped. They put an ASDA there, so of course the railway had to go, and it eventually connected back up to the dockyard, and that essentially was how they used to feed the stuff in and out of the dockyard via the railway line.
Awesome. I mean, I think there are a few people that probably didn't get some of that, Matt, because I think the stream crashed for a very brief period.
Did it?
But it sounds like everybody's back up now, which is great. Just in time to see the pink TGV on their screens.
Okay, right. Let me switch routes again, and we're going to go Hauptstrasse, München, Augsburg, and we will do a BR45. So this is a DLC layer that were from. So if you've got Hauptstrasse Rheinrohr, which comes with the BR45, and München Augsburg, which provides the route, has got the route and the traffic, then the 45 from Hauptstrasse Rheinrohr can work with the München line, and it's kind of standing in for a BR440, which would normally be on the route, but there isn't one in the game. So
awesome. It feels prudent at this point to say that if anybody would like to go and grab either of the routes tonight, they're both in the March Madness sale. So if you are on Steam or you're a PC player, go there, and there's loads and loads of stuff on offer at the moment. It will be for the next week or so. So go in there, see what you like. If there's something you've been waiting for a while, pop in and see if it's on sale. And if you want it, then grab it. And that also applies for the Diesel Legends pack, which was launched yesterday. There's a 10% discount on that as well, if you are interested.
Awesome. Which reminds me, we should probably do the trailer now.
Oh yeah, let's show the shiny trailer.
There we go.
Lovely, and we've got our wonderful faces back on the screen as well, which is always nice to see. Sandy Forrest asks us, can locos from Ruhr Nord, there we go, first German clanger of the night, be subbed into München Augsburg?
I don't think it uses Ruhr. I'm trying to remember what the substitutions are. So it takes the 425 from Hauptstrasse Rheinrohr. It takes the Doppelstocks, I think, from Main Spessartbahn with the 146. Between them, they run the Regional Express and Regional Bahn services. You obviously got the ICE and the BR423. ICE running intercity services, 423 running S-Bahn services. I can't remember what else. That was freight. So you get freight as a combination from Main Spessartbahn and from Rheinrohr Osten, the Wuppertal line. So either of those contribute some freight. So about half the freight on each of those is coming there, and that's because you get the MRCE Black 185.5 with the containers. The STG MRSS wagons come from Rhine-Ruhr Osten, and then the mixed freight, the Zackens and all that stuff, Habins, comes from MSB and runs behind the DB Red 185.2s. So you get a really nice variety. If you've got all those different add-ons, actually the Munich service mode fills out quite considerably.
Okay. I have a few people that are saying that the audio sync is out of whack with what is happening on the screen. A few people are suggesting refreshing the stream might help with that. So if you just want to refresh your stream, hit F5, and
the little blip earlier on would have probably knocked things out. So yeah, do a refresh.
If that hasn't worked for you, then let us know. We are streaming to a couple of other platforms tonight, so we'll have to have a look and see if that's impacting things. It shouldn't do, but it might be that we have to review what we do for the future live streams.
Yes.
Refreshing does nothing, apparently. That's great to know. That's always a really positive thing to have. So, tech support time. What do we...
Twitch is okay, but YouTube is not. We can't disable and re-enable YouTube on Restream, can we?
No, it will chop the VOD up as well, which is not ideal.
No.
So Twitch is good. If you want to watch on Twitch, that would be great. Obviously, there are some people who would rather watch on YouTube, which is absolutely fine as well, and would normally expect the audio not to be out of sync with what's happening on the screen. So I'm not really sure what to suggest. Maybe before we get into the German segment, maybe Matt, can we perhaps turn off the YouTube element and turn it back on? Would that work?
If I remember rightly, on Restream, if you turn it off, you can't turn it back on again until you reset the stream.
That's not good, is it?
No.
Well, maybe we turn the cameras off and nobody notices.
Is the game audio linked in? Okay. Is it our audio, or is it the game audio, or is it all audio?
Our audio. Okay, so we can.
So it's just the cameras. So yeah, if we turn the cameras off, then it's not a problem.
Yeah, then it's not as disconcerting.
No, that's fine. It's not the game audio. Good, that's what matters. It's the game audio that matters. Oh, someone's saying all audio. Okay, make your mind up, folks.
Facebook apparently is also fine, so it's just YouTube that sounds like there's a problem.
That's fine. No one uses YouTube. It's a small platform.
Yeah. So okay, well, hopefully it won't impact people's ability to enjoy the stream. You'll still get the same commentary. It'll just be perhaps a little bit out of sync and a little bit disconcerting. Yeah, the only thing I can suggest, guys, is if you are watching on YouTube, there apparently, by the looks of things, it's fine on Facebook and on Twitch. We wouldn't necessarily want to stop the stream here because it means we'll have to get everybody off and then start again. So I think what we'll probably do is we'll carry on and appreciate that, as I say, everybody's watching on YouTube might be a little bit out of sync, but we'll hopefully be able to at least get you some good commentary that's going to go alongside what you're able to see, even if it's a little bit out of sync.
Someone, generic name, asked for a link to the Twitch stream. It's twitch.tv/DovetailGames, but someone can post their link to that actually in the chat, one of the moderators.
That would be fantastic. And hello, moderators, by the way.
Big shout out.
Good to note that these guys are now official Dovetail stream moderators, which is really exciting. And we had a chat with them last week, and it's great to have them on board. So welcome, guys. It's good to have you with us.
Right, let's do.
Mod LMS has just put turf everyone off onto replacement bus services. That sounds about right, doesn't it?
Yes.
Oh, that is the worst, isn't it? That is just the worst. When you're last train and you get to a point and you get to say, oh, from between Welling and Hitchin, there's a replacement bus service, and you just have to sort of bite the bullet with hundreds of drunk people on the bus.
Yeah, it's not fun. It's not fun. Right, let's get PZB and other stuff enabled. So PZB,
I've heard many
and
things about the PZB, so
CIFA.
we'll have to go into that in a sec.
I love PZB. It's what I love about German trains, and I prefer driving German trains actually to most other types of trains. Don't need the cab light on. That's better. Let's put the key in. Put it in forward. And get the doors open. Let me take the cameras off.
Matt, people have asked what route we are on.
München Augsburg. Munich Augsburg.
Munich Augsburg. Steve Harmon said, would love to see JD try to drive a German train with PZB and CIFA. Well, I don't even know what either of those two things are yet, so I am also looking forward to trying this out at some point.
So CIFA is vigilance. It's the same as the SVACMA on the train. So it's the thing that rings every now and again. You press a button and it goes away, if you're lucky. And then PZB is one of those things that once you understand PZB, and it's more important actually to understand the signals rather than just understanding PZB, because once you understand how German signalling works, PZB kind of falls into place. It kind of makes sense, and it's much more easy to predict. Because in the UK, if you're coming up to a signal that's not green, you'll get what they call an AWS alarm, the automatic warning system, and the alarm will go off. You press a button, and job done. Train did a thing, I responded to the thing, we're all cool. The way PZB works is, at the moment you are supposed to press the button, nothing happens, and you're just supposed to know you're supposed to press the button. And that's fine, because that sounds really odd at the beginning. You're like, well, hang on a minute, how's that going to work? Because by the time the alarm goes off, that basically is the train saying, you lose, and putting the brakes on. But not only do you have to acknowledge the alarm, you need to know what to do as a result of that alarm, because normally if there's an alarm you've had to respond, something you've had to respond to, you now have to change your behaviour and slow down probably. And there's speed limits you've got to reduce to. And initially that is quite daunting when you're trying to work out what you need to do. But once you get the hang of it, it's amazing how natural it becomes. It's a really slick system.
So high barrier to entry, but very satisfying when you get it right.
Oh, it's extremely satisfying. And well, when we put out the tutorial, we did the stream talking about how to start learning to use PZB. I've had so many really great emails and messages from people who've given it a try. So I was like, right, the video gave me the sort of I need to give this a try, and then they came back and a week later and they're like, I've just done my first run entirely on PZB. Wow. It's like the buzz that you just didn't think you would get, it's because you've had to follow the rules like nothing. The train is checking you're following the rules. There is no, I'm a bit over the speed limit, oops. The train is sitting there watching you, and if you don't do what you're supposed to do, it will haul you up on it. So when you actually finally have done a complex run where you've had acknowledgements, you've had to slow down, and you've not had any problems, the buzz is very good. It really, it feels it's a really nice sense of accomplishment.
I'll have to give it a go. I had noticed on our YouTube channel that the tutorial for the signalling and PZB is one of the most watched stream VODs that we have. Probably, actually, I think the most watched stream VOD we have. And I think I'm starting to figure out why. So it sounds like, from what I can gather in the chat as well, it's a really good resource. So I think before I start to tackle the German routes, I'll probably give that a watch.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely worth doing some research and looking into how it works. The manuals for the products also have got some good examples on how to deal with PZB as well. So if you look in the manuals for the German routes, there's stuff in there that will talk you through it, as well as giving you some more visuals. Perhaps you can print out and put beside you as well.
I have what I might get is like a whiteboard screen just in front of my my laptop, just so that I can then put all of these post-its and these printouts on it. Tina Loader asks, is Clinchfield Railway Road out? Because I'm excited. We are excited too, Tina. It's not out just yet. We'll give you a little bit more information when we have it. But we did announce that Arosa is coming. It is coming on the 25th of March, and we are all very excited to see it. We actually have a preview of it, and I believe that's next Friday, this time next week. So that will be very exciting, and Jamie will be taking you through that with a member of the Rivet team, which is very, very, and I've said excited about 5 times in the last sentence, but we are all very excited.
You're excited to say excited.
Excited. I'm a very excitable person, that's what it is.
It feels almost like we should throw in the word unprecedented in there, given the times.
Unprecedented,
We've got to throw in that word every now and again. It's become, it's like the in the language now.
Derek MLP Derek asks, is there a preview for Clinchwood next week? There is. And we actually, I believe that we moved that to Saturday.
Yes.
Now, so that's next Saturday, starting at 8 o'clock UK time. I don't know how the daylight savings works over in the US, but I think 5 hours behind it'd be 3 p.m. Eastern and 12 p.m. Pacific. So that's very exciting. And again, we've got lots of stuff to be sharing with you to kind of go through that. So yeah, very exciting lineup next week. This week you've got to deal with me. I won't be on any of the ones next week because they're the high profile ones that I will probably mess up, so we'll leave those to the professionals.
Wait, I'm on those?
Yeah, I know.
Well, it's not professional then. That'd be silly. It'll involve trains coming off the tracks and flying into the sky and mostly missing the platforms they're supposed to be stopping at, knowing me.
And Sonic Scott mentions they'll know everything about the Swiss Railways after watching that stream with Jamie. Yeah, and obviously Jamie is on tomorrow to talk all about Swiss Railways, and he's got, I believe, an American route on the route that he's tried a couple of times and failed in on previous streams. He'll be doing that again, and he promises me he's going to get it right this time. So you got that to look forward to tomorrow night.
Nice. I will be joining in to heckle.
And Demonic asks, what is March Madness exactly? It is a big old sale that we're doing on Steam at the moment. So if you're a PC player, go on Steam. There's loads and loads of discounts and everything, including this route. Also Diesel Legends, which was released yesterday, has got a 10% discount as well on Steam. For console users, there are sales that are live at the moment, but we have to kind of go with what the console sales at the time are. This is something that Steam have been able to set up for us specifically, so we have to go with kind of what the console overall sales are at the time, but there's going to be more coming in the near future.
Right, so we just went through a speed reduction warning. So we did a PCB acknowledge. You can see 1000 Hertz is now lit up, and we're now being speed tracked down to 85 kilometers an hour. Now I'm under 85 kilometers an hour. We're all good. As I say, it's remembering that stuff. But once you remember it, all it is slow down to 85, and then keep an eye on it, because the PCB doesn't actually know what the track speed is. It applies a fairly simplified set of rules which get you roughly in the ballpark of what you're supposed to be doing. So it's less about worrying about what the real world, well, you need to worry about what the real world is wanting you to do, but in terms of stopping PZB from putting the brakes on, you just have to make sure that you're doing what PZB wants you to do. So again, here, this is another flashing green with a yellow 6, tells me, again, I need to re-acknowledge that one because it was a reduction warning, even though it's the same speed for some strange reason. It's still considered a one I need to acknowledge. So again, and now we're at 60, we're actually at that upcoming speed reduction, which is the limit that is there, and we're all good. But PZB doesn't care if I'm doing 60, it cares that I'm doing less than 85 at this moment in time. Now, if we're not approaching a green, let's see what colour light we're approaching. So it looks like we're not going to get a red, so we won't see the 500 Hertz at this point. But right, let's just come in there. So the 1000 Hertz and the 500 Hertz, I'll show you what they are in a minute. They're these little magnets on the track. We're going over one on the left-hand side at the moment. And what they're literally just pulsing at that frequency. And the train detects that going under. It's kind of like a switch almost. It's just because there's 3 types of them, different frequencies. It needs to know what it is, and then it reacts accordingly. So again, this is another speed reduction warning. I don't think they need to acknowledge this one, but I'm going to do it anyway because I'm paranoid, and there is no penalty for acknowledging if you don't need to. So always acknowledge any time you think you might need to, because there's nothing wrong with getting that wrong. Where there's a problem is if you don't when you should.
Yeah, always be overcautious if possible. That's my motto to live by.
Yep.
Just a couple of more questions on the chat. Anthony Virgin Trains asks, when will we get a preview of Birmingham Cross City route for Train Simulator 2021? All I can say with that is quite soon. So there will probably be more information in the coming weeks, I would say. So keep an eye out. That's all I'll say with that one. And people are talking about future routes that we've discussed. This isn't really a forum for that kind of question, unfortunately, at this stage. We'll give you kind of preview streams where we'll have a little bit more information about some of that kind of stuff moving forward. We've talked about Clinchfield, we've talked about Arosa. We'll probably have ones for Hamburg Lubeck as well, moving forward in the coming weeks and months when we've got a little bit more to share.
So this is one of those what they call a Belize, or it's a magnet essentially, and it just literally is pulsing at the. You can see it's actually got the label on there telling you what kind of a magnet it is. And as I come over this one, probably a 1000, 2000. Yeah, this is a 1000, 2000 hertz magnet, so it's dual purpose. This one will basically be pulsing at 2000 hertz if that light is red, and 1000 hertz if it's yellow, essentially. So it just tells the train, because if a train ever gets goes over a 2000 hertz magnet, it jams the brakes on, because it means you've gone somewhere you shouldn't be going.
Oh, that's clever. That's very clever.
Yeah, the systems that come over the course of history, the systems, because things like TVM are modern electronic systems that work by radio. Well, obviously, back when a lot of railways have been developed, they haven't had the benefit of radio. So trackside Belize's has been one of the common ways of doing it. The Americans came up were using a system using pulse codes actually on the track. So a bit like on your model railway, for those that know DCC, where you have actually commands actually going down the rails. Well, the American system they use on the Northeast Corridor that's been brought about by the Pennsy, which is the Long Island Railroad use a variation of it, and the Northeast Corridor Amtrak trains and so forth use a variation of it. They actually get their upcoming signalling information from the track, so that they can see what's going on. So there's all sorts of really ingenious techniques that have been brought about as they try and do it. And this system was originally the early versions of it weren't called PZB; they were called Indusi, and Indusi actually exists in the UK. There's one railway in the UK which uses this system. I'm curious to know if someone can name it. Only
Certainly
half because
me.
I've forgotten what it's called.
Certainly not me. Crystal's already chucked it in the chat.
Chiltern. That wasn't the answer I was thinking of. Chiltern uses ATC, which is a control system. Tyne and Wear, that's the one I was looking for. That's the one I was looking for.
Well done, Monda, in the chat.
That's what I was thinking of. Tyne and Wear Metro is the one that use it.
Well,
Now, Chiltern might use it as well,
chat.
but I wasn't aware. I know Chiltern use ATC the same as Great Western do. This is what I love. Running my side-by-side operations just makes my heart sing.
I mean, there are points where, like I think particularly on like the underground, where you kind of go alongside another train, and it's almost like looking into kind of sliding doors, seeing almost your reflection, but it's not quite your reflection, is it? It's obviously a different group of people, and then they obviously go off into the distance, and it just feels like that for a brief moment everybody connects.
Yes. Colonel Cam is difficult when you've got. Oh, he sped up, and I ran into something. I hit a wall. Right, let's speed up. We've got nothing else on the PZB, so the lights down here are all not doing anything. So we are good to accelerate to line limit. We're not under any special monitoring.
People were asking when I did like an introductory thread on the forums. If you want to check it out, you're more than welcome to. But on it, I mentioned that I've got 2 cats, and one of them is actually sat on my lap right now. So if we do get the cameras back on at some point, I will show the cat.
I have to turn the cameras on now because seriously, we won't hear the end of it. Cameras are back on. Yeah, you must show us the cat.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay,
Yeah.
she's looking at me as if to say, "You dare pick me up! You dare pick me up!" But here we go.
Oh.
Here she is.
Oh, look at that!
There's Phoebe.
Isn't she gorgeous? My cats aren't allowed in here anymore. Turn the
that's
cameras off.
Phoebe.
Yeah, that's yeah. My cats aren't allowed. Lady used to come in here all the time and cause mayhem, essentially, because she likes sitting on the keyboard while I'm trying to drive while I'm streaming.
Yeah,
and,
that's exactly what Phoebe does as well.
Yeah, it's. Right.
Victron, we are aware there is a bit of a lag going on. That's where we turned the cameras off so that it doesn't make it feel like there's as much of a lag. If you do want to watch it on Twitch or on Facebook, we're hearing there isn't that audio-visual lag that you're finding on YouTube right now.
No, we don't know why that is. But there was a blip on one of the channels, I think, and I suspect that YouTube didn't fare too well with that. I don't know quite why that is.
Yeah, we'll have to have a look after the stream.
$30 kilometres to Mering. Will Hamburg Lübeck have layers? We'll answer that question nearer the time. We've turned the face cams off, Carlo, because there's a slip on the audio visual. They're not lined up on YouTube. No
so
idea
you don't
why.
get to see it. You don't get to see our beautiful faces, unfortunately, until we get to the end. I have noticed though that the restream chat has caught up. There was a point where it was about 2 minutes behind, so it feels like the chat's caught up, but then the audio's gone behind. So who knows?
Apparently, there's a really bad lag now on Twitch.
Oh no, it's all going Pete Tong. So this feels quite a nice, I mean, barring the whole signalling thing, seems like quite a nice kind of sedate suburban route that we're going through. Kind of, how far is this route in total?
I can't remember the distance. I think I want to say something like about 60 miles or something like that. I'm sure viewers will be able to correct me on that. It's a fairly lengthy route going between Munich and Augsburg. So you've got the big, complex area of Munich down here. Which then we're in the yards here, and then we come up to, and then essentially the S-Bahn stops around about this area, and then we carry on with the regional traffic up to Augsburg up there. So yeah, it is a fair journey, because we're 26 kilometres from Mering, and I think that's only taking us about 2/3 of the way there.
Okay. How many if you were to do an all stations, all stopper, how many stops are there?
That I can't remember. The S-Bahn's quite a lot of stops, and that only goes halfway, and then you've probably got about another half a dozen, maybe 10 stops on the regional after that. But the S-Bahn is busy. We can see the S-Bahn is what's on the left-hand side of us, and there's, as is typical with S-Bahns, to be honest, they're all out. There's this stop after stop after stop on the S-Bahn.
I don't know. Little solar farm to the right.
Yeah.
Apologies if the audio is lagging, because I mean, by the time you see that, there probably won't be a solar farm on your right hand side. But see you later has put on the chat 23 stations in total.
23. There you go. That was the Dostos from the MSB, and here we've got the S-Bahn trains running over on the other side over here.
Do we? I love a history lesson, Matt. Do we have any history on this particular line or this particular loco that would be good to let the viewing folk and myself know at this stage?
I don't think I do, actually. I'm going to let you down on that one.
Oh, that was at least 4 minutes worth of content that we're now going to have to find from somewhere else.
Yeah. Little anecdote. Because we modelled this in Train Simulator. 2013, I think it was, when we released this one for Train Sim, and it was on the section that we're on or going on to. on here. Yeah, it's on the tracks over on the right hand side. We're on the regional barn tracks now. So there's actually three sets of tracks here. So you've got the S-Bahn on the right-hand two, the Regional and Regional Express here, and the ICE, the intercity stuff, is the high-speed stuff on the side there. And at the time, this was the fastest route in Train Simulator.
Really?
And we wanted to model this as an intercity route. Using the Intercity Express, it was where we launched the Intercity Express 3, the ICE 3, as the fastest train in the game. But the maximum speed on this route is only 230 kilometres an hour. So we got creative with it and turned it up to 280. And that came up when, of course, this route came out, because we left it at 230 where it's supposed to be. And people who'd played it on Train Simulator 1 were immediately, well, hang on, where's my 280 kilometre hour speed limit? The answer is this route is got the speed limits incorrect. There was an accommodation because we thought people would want to just drive faster. The track more than caters for the faster running of the Intercity, but yeah, that's why TS1 it was 280 and this is 230.
Oh, nice. Carlo asked an interesting question in the chat. Why do you rebuild TS 2021 routes in Train Sim World?
It's not that. So the goal is not to rebuild the route. We don't think to ourselves, look over the collection and say, what can we pick from to make? It's more, what routes do we want? What routes do players want? I mean, if you look at the survey that Sam did, the number one route that's requested is East Coast Main Line. That exists in TS1. So the players are asking for routes that exist in TS1, and not because they exist in TS1, but because they're good routes. You know, these are good experiences, and they want those experiences in Train Sim World. And so we don't say to ourselves purposefully, let's model things that are in TS1. We also don't say, let's ignore it because it's in TS1. If it looks like it'll be a good route, like this one is a you know, it's a really interesting experience, and bringing Train Sim World service mode and walking around and so forth adds something that's different to what's been there before. That's why we would look to make that route, and it's really got nothing to do with whether it does or doesn't exist.
So it's kind of building the experience more so than building a route or whatever. It's making sure that, say, it feels like something that is offering something unique or different that wouldn't otherwise be available.
Exactly. I mean, there were good decisions taken as to why a route was made for Train Simulator. Those decisions are just as applicable today as they were when the original route was made, and possibly more so because I mean, this was a really good route to introduce intercity traffic into TS1. This was the second route we did intercity traffic with, because it was Colnacan, which didn't exist in TS1. Sometimes we do push ourselves to what can we do that isn't in TS1, but it's not the thing that's out there. The other benefit, particularly during these unprecedented times, is that getting out and getting reference material is really, well, it's impossible, basically. So we have to rely on photos that exist. We have to rely on the community beta testers that can help us, and they do a really amazing job. That can either have got their own library of images, or they've got stuff they can help us with, and so we kind of rely on. So sometimes it's just, well, we've already got all the reference we need to make a really good job on this route. Why pick a hard route that we don't have the reference for and probably won't be able to do as good a job on now? Let's do that one later when we can go and see it and do a better job on it, rather than rush it out now. So that's kind of, we didn't plan for the recent lot of routes on the basis of the pandemic, because obviously no one knew the pandemic was coming, and we plan our routes a year or more in advance. So it sort of kind of worked out very, very helpful for us that all of a sudden a number of routes on the schedule we can't go and get reference for. That's fine, we have the reference for them, and that's been really helpful. It's also the team have been using the time to build up their skills on building routes without having access to reference, because routes have changed. Generally, if we model a route, we model it in the current time period, whereas this would have been modelled around 2013 in TS1. This is modelled in around 2020 now. And the subtle differences, sometimes bigger bigger differences rather than smaller. So they are still having to. The team is still having to go and find that research and reference material, which has meant that they're keyed up to be able to. They've got the practice now of doing that, which is going to help everything in the long run, to be honest.
So that's a fantastic point about the changing of stations of the routes and stuff as well. I think that's really important to know, because I mean, even in the space of a couple of years, things could change quite dramatically. So let alone 7 or 8. Aladdin saying, ask any news on Cathcart Circle. No news other than what's in the roadmap. When we have more, we will share it with you.
Does memory optimization help with screen tearing or stuttering? No, it's not really anything to do with that. The VSync will help with tearing. I'm not running with a G-Sync or an AMD Sync, the FreeSync monitors. I'm just using a normal one. I don't know quite what's causing the stuttering in this route, but see, my hard drive seems to be doing a thing.
We're having a few technical gremlins tonight, aren't we?
Well, we're streaming, therefore there are gremlins.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm not quite sure I understand what this question asks. Clade, I'm not sure if I understand it right. It just says, how long do you need for a route/train normal? I'm
assuming they're asking how long it takes to make them.
That's what I assumed.
Bearing in mind that we have, you could have 40 people working on a route. Probably in a train, you probably have, I don't know, half a dozen working on a train. But for a route project, with say 40 people working on it, you're looking at, I don't know, 4 months, 5 months. So multiply that out by 40. So it's because there's a team and they're good at what they do, that they can build them in a condensed space of time and organise the work out. They've got used to techniques for being able to distribute the work out amongst themselves and then recombine it all back in again. They've got very clever at that. Even with TS1, the similar techniques that we use for TSW, so enables us to work. We sometimes bring in outsource companies who can help us make 3D assets, or in some cases, companies like Skyhook, partners like Skyhook, have actually helped us by taking on some of the route building tasks as well, to help some of that. I think Skyhook actually might have done some of this route. To help the team. So it's we grow the team essentially to build a product, and when we can make a larger route like this, it needs more people on it. But yeah, if you elapsed time, bearing in mind large number of people on it, it's probably 4 or 5 months for a route, and depending on the train, it can vary wildly on trains. And how much access we have for it and how complicated it is. Something like the ICE was a big project, TGV was a big project. You're talking 3 or 4 months at least for a project like that.
Yeah, I think scale is important to note at this point. Matty asks, hello, what is this train and why are your webcams off? Matt, you take the train, I'll take the webcams.
This train is a BR425. The train comes from the Hauptstrecke Rheinrohr product and is running a regional Bahn service, remember rightly, regional Bahn 57016, yes. So normally this is normally in the real route this would be taken by something like a BR440, but there aren't any BR440s in the game, so this is doing the job instead.
Lovely, and the webcams are switched off because we've noticed that there was a little bit of a lag on YouTube in terms of the audio and the visuals. So we thought to try and make that as little as possible for you guys watching. We would turn off our cameras so that even if we were a little bit behind, you wouldn't notice quite so much. So we will get the cameras back for the last bit of the stream where we sign off. Hopefully it will have resynced by that point, but it's more of a tech problem than us not wanting to say hello.
Definitely.
Any other questions in the chat? Matt Johnson asks, I imagine COVID and these, I'm going to put in brackets, these unprecedented times, has affected access to locos. I'd assume, yes, it probably has.
Oh, massively. It's cut it off. It means it can't happen. The railway companies are completely correctly, they're always very, very conscious of the safety of their team. And, They don't want people in cabs that don't absolutely need to be in those cabs. So yeah, it's just, it can't happen. Now, what that means is that we know some of our beta testers are drivers, so they take the pictures for us, from the cab while they're in the cab, or if they're in a depot after they've finished and they've signed off, then they'll wander over and they'll take some pictures of some of the coaches for us, because they can do that. But it's meant that where previously we would organise a trip and some of our team would go out there and wire up sound equipment, take thousands of photographs and talk to the operators. That really just can't happen at the moment. So, and probably won't for a while, to be honest, because even though lockdown is hopefully going to be coming to an end in the coming weeks, I can't imagine that anyone's going to want to take unnecessary risks, and neither would we want to be honest. So I mean, even though lockdown is officially is hopefully ending around July time, we're all definitely staying at home, working from home until September at the earliest. So Dovetail's taking a super cautious approach, because the team are all used to working at home now. They're doing a really good job working from home. Why change that for the time being? Let's wait until everything's settled, and then we can start looking at what we want to do. And I know some of the team actually want to stay working from home, which is really cool. So it's been a really it's changed things, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine that if we're not going back into the office until September, that we would kind of sanction going sort of to visit and take sort of research trips for locos, I would imagine. So who knows at this point? Again, unprecedented times. Who really knows what the future holds? But I mean, in some ways, I think what this has given us the opportunity to do is work in a different way, and work in a slightly more well, I suppose different is the right word. We've had to adapt, and I've only been here a month at Dovetail, but I've seen some fantastic work going on behind the scenes. I haven't really got a frame of reference for it, but the quality of the stuff looks really, really strong. So, Matt, I don't know if you can speak to it a little bit from a person that's been here for a while, but in terms of the quality of stuff that's been going out, I mean, I don't imagine it's been that impacted by what we've the kind of the current situation.
I'm going to go the other way actually, and say that we locked down over a year ago now. We locked down ahead of the national lockdown, in the first national lockdown, about by a week or so, I think. And the team started work on Train Sim World 2 after we locked down.
Wow.
So everything you've seen, Train Sim World 2 and beyond, has been developed by the team at home. And I hope you'll agree, it's been the best work the team have ever done. It's amazing how the team they've not just found ways to make it work, they've found ways to make it work brilliantly. So it's truly amazing. It's a real tribute to the way the team, they're problem solvers. They're really good. It's a case of and one of the things the pandemic has done is, and this situation where people working from home can't go and get reference, is, well, how are we going to solve this problem then? We can't not make stuff. So how do we solve it? And so we've been finding other access methods. We've been the community has reached out to us. The beta team that we've got have said, hey, I know so and so who's actually a driver. Can we get him on board? And yeah, definitely. So and we've had some. In fact, we actually had a driver from this route is now one of our beta testers, and advised us. He drives on the S-Bahn, and he helped advise us on the behaviour of the BR423. So again, that's when you hear it straight from the drivers, you get to know how things work better than you ever could by reading a manual. More often than not, by the fact that the manuals are often wrong, frankly.
And we talk about experience as well. Like, who better to be able to give us kind of the feel of something than somebody who does it for a living? I mean, it's kind of those little things, isn't it? It's the feel of the bump on the track. It's the kind of the sound of those kind of retro noises that we hear in the LGV, sorry, in the TGV, TGV. I've completely lost my brain. TGV, it's those kinds of things that really kind of set it apart. And I imagine being able to get access to drivers and people who work in the industry is a real kind of boon for us to be able to produce something that's really interesting, authentic, and ultimately really sort of fun to engage with.
Yeah, very much so. It's and it helped us do better than we were previously, and keep stepping up and finding new ways to improve things. I mean, again, it's the experiences that the people who work on the railways have are some of the most fun things we hear. Whether it's from something simple like, how dark are the tunnels on High Speed 1 or on the London Underground? Because there was big debates when Bakerloo Line released as part of Train Sim World 2 about the tunnels being too dark. If you look on YouTube and the tunnels are all lit up. So what are you doing? Why are the tunnels not lit up? Well, we talked to underground drivers and they said, no, it's pitch dark. They put a torch on the front of the train for the videos, because otherwise the video wouldn't show anything. So, it's like sometimes the reference material we might be using might be wrong, and sometimes it's actively misleading. And so the best source of advice you can get is actually talking to the drivers. The BR423 on this route was another example. We were playing with the physics. We'd set it up roughly how the physics data we'd been able to find roughly said it should be able to. We said, these brakes are terrible. That can't be right. And he said, actually, they're probably worse than that in reality. And it's just like, wow, that would not be where we would have thrown if we were tossing a coin on how to improve that. That's not what we would have done. We would have probably tightened those brakes up to where we would have expected them to be. And actually what we were told by the real driver is, no, make them a bit weaker actually. The 423 is known for being bad at braking.
That's really interesting though. Really interesting. I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent because we've got some chat questions. Scott Strudwick asked, are you doing any more routes in the UK at all? We have Glasgow Cathcart Circle on the roadmap at the moment. We don't have any news on that as much, but if you want to check on the latest roadmap article, that's got all of the stuff we're currently working on there. And that's the UK route that's currently on there. Similarly to someone asked about Dutch routes. Dutch routes seem like they would be quite interesting. I don't know much about the Netherlands and Dutch trains or Dutch locos, but it feels like that might be an option for something in the future, Matt.
One of the things that's really, really nice about the Dutch railways is, much like the German ones, they still have a huge variety, and there's still some really interesting operations that go on the railways, whereas everything's generally simplified, and if you go to a particular region of the UK, you'll see just all of the same type of train. So, from a train enthusiast perspective, yawn, frankly. You've seen one train, you've seen them all. Whereas when you go to Germany and you go to the Netherlands, you see such a massive variety of different things. So just from that perspective, it is really interesting. I mean, it's a pretty flat country, so you're not going to really have the gradients to deal with. But they've got high speed, they've got the commuter trains, they've got locomotive hauled. It is a really, really interesting railway system.
Yeah. So no current plans, but let's see where the future takes us.
One of our beta testers is a Dutch train driver.
Oh, well.
That's not a hint. He's been beta tester for a long time.
Let's not set unrealistic expectations, but that's
he happens
exciting.
to one of the trains he drives is very similar to a Trax, or is a Trax actually, like the 146 and the 185.
Amazing. Planes 124 asks, any news on an Xbox sale? Seems tight not giving them a sale, mate. Question mark. Monocle face. That the hand. So we don't dictate when Xbox do sales, unfortunately. We'd love to be able to put things on sale all the time. That would be great. But Xbox and PlayStation determine when the sales tend to be, and we go into those sales. So we'd love to, but it's down to the platforms themselves. We have a little bit more freedom with the likes of Steam to be able to do the things like we're doing today with March Madness, where we can kind of have developer-led promotions, but we're not able to do that, unfortunately, on consoles at the moment. We have to go when PlayStation and Xbox tell us they can. So, but there will be stuff in the future, so don't worry if you are feeling a little bit left out by the discounts on March Madness. It will be fine. There will be stuff coming, don't worry. I'm just having a look through any more questions. I stopped for a while and now I'm scrolling back through, so I just need to kind of mentally vet the questions before I ask any. Here we go.
Got another Dosto set coming in the other direction, the double-decker coaches.
Oh wow, yeah, that looks cool, doesn't it? sorry, a complete, as I say, complete noob here. So anything looks interesting to me.
Well, we don't have double-decker coaches in the UK, so they always sort of come off as being a bit... Ooh, hello, what's that then?
Yeah, yeah.
We did have double-decker coaches briefly. Bullard, actually, a guy named Bullard, many moons ago, was working on. He was the chief engineer for Southern. Developed a train called the 4DD, which was a double-decker, and it was absolutely hideous.
I can imagine.
It was. Could you imagine fitting a double-decker train in the standard loading gauge, virtually of a normal coach? People were basically sitting on each other's shoulders.
God.
It was just dire, but it was an interesting experiment.
Yeah, I guess it's I guess it's can you increase the get as many people in there for as little extra expenditure, I suppose.
Well, no, the problem, particularly on the Southern, was they had to go through some fairly tight tunnels. They just didn't have room to make bigger trains. You know, they had so they were constrained very much by how much things had to be, and therefore it's can we make a double-decker train fit through the tunnels it needs to fit through? And that's what it looks like, and everyone agreed that was a bad idea.
Glader asks in the chat, can you do dev vlogs like Rubik Games? We have done a few recently. If you look on the Dovetail Live website, we've done some interviews with the developers who are putting out, particularly particularly Clinchfield. There's a couple of Clinchfield articles that I believe are on the website at the moment where we've spoken to the developers, and they've been able to tell us a little bit about the journey of going from concept to nearly finished product, and of bearing in mind to say some of this stuff takes months to put together. So it's quite, they're interesting reads, and we'd love to do more of them. I know that Matt, you're really passionate about getting some of this stuff a little bit more frontward facing, because we know how much you all at home enjoy reading that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So we're really wanting to do some more of that stuff with upcoming routes, upcoming locos, to give you a little bit more of an insight into how we make them and the reasons why we want to make some of this stuff as well, because a lot of them have got some really interesting histories and provenance that we'd love to be able to kind of get further out to the community.
Definitely. Yes, definitely. It's good to get. I know that the team that I spoke to, the two guys that were involved in the building the F7 article. Whoops, I broke it. I broke it.
It was going so well, Matt.
I know. I blew it.
So, Thelonious asks, you need to live stream the meetings where you choose what route to make? I think that would be very dangerous. Would be very dangerous. We have had discussions when I've been in previous jobs about doing things like live streaming developer meetings and things like that, and I think it sounds like a really good idea in theory. I think it just ends up, it would be chaos. It would be absolute chaos.
Yeah, it would be. People watching it just wouldn't know what to take away from what they're seeing. It's just like, does that mean you're making that route, or but what? And so I think if it would get, I know that's how I feel coming out of some of the meetings myself, to be honest. So. It's I think that would be frustrating experience at best.
Yeah. So ADR asks, what went wrong?
What went wrong? I was in 1000. I was in monitoring. So the train was monitoring my speed, which means I have to drive slower. There's an extra speed limit imposed of me of I think 40 kilometres an hour, and I went over 40 kilometres an hour. Well, it's 45, but so it slammed the brakes on, which is one of the reasons it's there, is to catch the driver that's got into the zone with their run, and they're not paying attention properly. That means that recently, prior to stopping, I was told that I was going into speed reduction, so I'd acknowledged it and got the 1,000 hertz, and then when I sped up again, I'd clearly forgotten that I was in a speed reduction. So the train slammed the brakes on me to say, right, okay, now do it again, but this time. Yeah. It's a clever system. It's relatively straightforward. Like I said, it's not doing complex computer logic or anything fancy like that. It's not like, TVM, which is, really quite an advanced system. But it's effective at making sure that, if you should be doing something different to what you're normally doing, it'll pretty much in all cases stop you if you're not doing the right thing.
really good question from Microsoft95 in the chat, and I'm sure you've been asked this before, Matt. But for my benefit, what in your opinion is the best map? I guess he means route that's been created in TSW. So I guess since we've produced TSW, or maybe even let's change that to TSW2. What's your favourite route that we've created since TSW2's come out?
I'm really bad at people when they say what's your favourite X, like what's your favourite train, and because I don't really have favourites. I'm a general train enthusiast. I like all trains, and I whatever country they're from, I find all of the routes offer something different and offer something fun. In terms of ultimately the test is, well, what route do you spend time playing then? This would be one of them. I like this route. I probably play LGV less often because I like commuter type trains, like the things, either freight, shunting, switching, or this kind of stop start because I feel like I'm driving the train. That's kind of what I'm interested in. So I enjoyed Bakerloo a lot more than I thought I would. Gonna be honest. I thought driving a train through a tunnel would be less interesting than it really is. So I'm really glad we made that route because I've spent a lot of hours driving Bakerloo line. No, I want to do that one. There we go. Let's open the doors. Basically, if it's a route that's got commuter traffic on it, then I probably drive it a lot, to be honest. NTP got an awful lot of run time with me because it's BR Blue diesels. What's not to like? So, and the BR 101 and the Class 101, gears. Yes.
We've seen a lot of people that have just come in from GameTech UK. Welcome to the live stream. I assume you're probably here for the next segment, but hello anyway, because we will be passing over to GameTech UK in about 5 minutes, where he'll be doing the Southeastern high speed, and then we'll be bumping on to Northern Alex afterwards, who will be doing Dresden on Train Simulator tonight, which will round us off at about 20 past 11 UK time. So if you have a free Friday planned, and let's face it, at the moment, who doesn't, then stick with us, because we will be passing on some of our favourite content creators, and they will be taking you through the rest of the evening.
Yes, and as Matt Card said there, Jason spent 180 hours on an 18-minute video. You can tell it's a really, really interesting video. So do a big shout out to GameTech UK. The effort in the video is very apparent. So show your appreciation for that once you've seen it. Well, that's Munich Augsburg, and
brilliant. Thank you very much, Matt, for that.
My silver-coloured gold medal.
It's been a real kind of education. For me, on both routes, actually. I have to admit, I think I am more of a person that likes to crank up the speed. So probably the French route is probably more my cup of tea. So I think I'll probably give a little bit of practice to that one. But I definitely need to read up on the German routes as well, because I would imagine that they're probably like the more kind of the pinnacle of like learning all of the bits and pieces and understanding and having a bit of a feel for something. It feels it's a bit more intuitive, this system, than say the system that we were using on the high speed. And I apologize if I've offended anybody during that. That was not intentional at all.
I mean, the other thing is the other train to look at on this route and on the Köln-Aachen route is the ICE, because that's another super high speed one that's got a different high speed control system, different to TVM. It's called LZB, but essentially LZB means the train pretty much literally drives itself. It even speeds itself up and slows itself down according to what's going on. So it's quite fun to set that up and then watch it drive, and then to disengage it and then stop at the station. So that's quite fun, and you can run that on these two routes as well. So for those that like the high speed stuff, the TGV and the ICEs they are a great fun experience for the high speed, and the nature of the routes not being 400 kilometers long or anything. I know people would love the routes to be 400 kilometers long, but it means that you're not going to sit there for 3 hours staring at the screen going, when's the next thing happen? So this is a really interesting experience. The nice thing about Köln-Aachen is halfway down the route, the high speed stuff ends, so you have to switch back to the slow speed stuff and then drive at 160 kilometers an hour. So again, it's a route of two halves. It's so you get two different two different experiences in the same space, in the same journey, which is really interesting.
I've been taking notes the whole time, Matt, so I know where I'm going to be targeting first and where I'm probably going to need to do a little bit more reading before trying. And again, thanks everybody for bearing with me and my stupid questions tonight. For those who are not aware, I am new to all of this, so Matt's been giving me pretty much a 101 on some of this stuff, and I'm very thankful to him for it. I hope that everybody has enjoyed this segment, and we are aware that our cameras
Wow, I don't know quite what's happened to JD's camera there. Teams is. Oh,
it
are you
looks
back?
like we had some connection issues as well.
Yeah,
I am back. Yes,
you're back. Yes, I was just watching the dropped frame counter, and nothing's changed on there, so it looks like the stream survived it all right.
Well,
but,
I mean, tech gremlins about tonight.
Oh, it's terrible.
I'm on the stream. I'm on the stream with you, Matt. Apparently, you get tech gremlins. I also get tech gremlins. So
double tech gremlins.
It was going to end in disaster. Yeah.
Or is that tech gremlins squared?
Oh, good question.
I
And
know.
on that brain teaser, we will leave you tonight, everybody. Thanks very much for tuning in. Don't forget, March Madness is live now on Steam. Loads and loads of discounts on all kinds of routes and locos in game, including the Diesel Legends pack, which was launched yesterday. You get a 10% discount on that as well. So thanks very much for tuning in to us. We're going to pass over to Game Tech UK now, who, as by the sounds of things, is very hotly anticipated, which is great. So prepare for, I think, is about 18 minutes of pure joy, and then we're going to be passing over to Northern Alex afterwards, who's going to be taking us down on Dresden on Train Simulator. Thanks very much, Matt, tonight.
Oh, thank you very much. I've enjoyed it, and I hope everyone's enjoyed it as well.
I very much have done as well. I can't think of many better ways to spend a Friday evening. Have a good one, everyone, and we will see you tomorrow, or Jamie will see you tomorrow for a Swiss masterclass and more of your amazing creator videos as well. So we'll see you then.
All right, cheers, everyone. We'll pass over to Game Tech now.
Hello everyone, welcome to Game Tech UK and another train sim video. In this video I'm going to take you on the class 375 from Faversham to Rochester. We're going to be stopping off on the way because I've always had a huge fascination with how real life is represented in video games and how video game developers go about reproducing real life. We're going to stop off at each station, have a look around, compare it with real life with footage that I've recorded myself, and we're going to compare it and talk about it. So let's get on with today's video. So we're starting our journey today at Faversham, a lovely town actually, and this is a really nice station with lots of sort of Victorian architecture about it. We've got the 375 pulled into the station, we've got another 375 come up, and we're going to couple them together. Actually, we're not going to couple it, we're just going to oversee it while the drivers do that, and from then on we're going to take it to Sittingbourne. So here we go, they're going to couple them together. We've got this lovely young lady in here in charge of the second 375, and we're just going to wait while they couple those together. And I love all the detail in the trains, you've got to admit, it's just done so well, and it just makes me so happy to play this game. I absolutely love it. Right, here we come. There we go. Yeah, the amount of detail, if you love trains and love machinery, Train Sim never fails to impress. Right, we've got to go down the front of the train and take this to Sittingbourne. So we're going to make our way down and say goodbye to Faversham. That's it. We're going to get in. Sit down, of course. Okay, so we're just going to wait for the passengers to load, get comfortable on board, and then we're going to make our way to Sittingbourne. All our passengers are all loaded up, they're all comfortable and happy to start their journey on their way to Sittingbourne. So we're just coming out of Faversham now, and I do love some of the views you can get. It's absolutely fantastic. It's like having your entire train line or your own sort of model railway on your screen whenever you want it. I think it's fantastic. And all the surrounding areas, of course.
Apologies, folks. I got JD back as well. Hello, JD.
Hello.
We're gonna go ahead and drop the stream, and we're gonna restart it. So bear with us, and we'll see you in a moment, and we'll just go straight into Game Tech, and that hopefully will cure this awful syncing problem. So we'll see you back here in a minute. Don't go nowhere.